Hello, and welcome to another great edition of Money Truth Moments with our very own money expert and money whisperer, Judy Copenbarger. How are you, Judy?
I'm awesome. I'm having the best day ever. How about you, Carlos? How you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. It's a beautiful Tuesday morning. Thanksgiving is done. Very grateful for a lot of things over the weekend. But more importantly, I'm very grateful to be back on Tuesday and get to share your wisdom with folks, which is always awesome.
Awesome. And I'm happy to be here.
So we left off last week was all about gratitude, but prior to that, folks, if you're just joining us for the first time, we were discussing are you ready? And what that are you ready means, are you ready to wrap up your year? Are you ready for the next year as well too? If you're just joining us for the first time, welcome to the show. If you're not following Judy, please do so at judycopenbarger.com. We're going to talk about her website. We're going to talk about some resources, but most importantly, make sure that you follow her on social media as well there too. So with that said, let me ask you, are you ready?
That's the question, isn't it? It's like,
That's
have
the
I
million
done
dollar question.
everything I can? Am I prepared? Have I done everything I can? And one thing that we were discussing in this last few weeks in this series of Are You Ready is, how do you manage cash flow? How do you handle when the money comes in, having a plan for where it goes? And I've talked around it, but we haven't really done a deep dive yet into laddering. So I'd really like to do that. I think it's a wonderful tool for people to answer the question, I have a dollar, where do I put it?
Mm-hmm.
Should I be investing it? Should I be saving it? Should I put it toward a goal? Should I put it in my retirement account? Where should I put my dollars? And we're all capable of earning them. There's dollars that come in either through inheritance or through our salary or business revenue that we create. Money comes in. The challenge people have from my years of helping people in this process is, where do you put it? It seems like so many people get into this spot. I've been here before. I feel like I'm in spin. I just keep cycling back. I keep ending up short. I keep ending up not having the savings I want, the retirement I want. It's time for a vacation and I have to put it on a credit card. And my intention was to save up. My intention was to pay cash for that car and not have to take a payment again and pay interest. So I've been here before. How do I break the cycle? How do I avoid that? And it's through proper planning. Everybody has enough. It's what you do with it that makes you feel short. Everybody has capability to have enough. So how do we allocate the cash so we can have the things that we want in life? And the answer is through structure, right? Through planning, through intention. And the best tool that I've ever learned to share with people is the concept of laddering. So are you familiar with laddering?
We talked about it on the show, but I think a lot of folks, it's a new concept for that too. So it'd be a great, for a lot of us that have followed us, it's a great reminder for those that are tuning in for the first time. This is going to be fantastic. So,
Yeah. So laddering, and I don't mean like get a ladder and climb to the top of the orange tree to pick oranges, right? Not that kind of
okay, so I
ladder.
guess I don't know.
Not a fireman's ladder on the back of the fire truck. Laddering is a concept in economics, a concept in finance that is used to describe the timing of things. So often you'll hear it or see it in the concept of something that has a maturity. Like a CD has a maturity, a bond has a maturity. There's like a date that the contract offering is over. It has an end to it. It's finite. And so it's that concept that we're going to borrow from to answer the question of timing. Like, where do I put my dollar? Right. So if you have, for example, a CD, most people have had an experience with a certificate of deposit at the bank. You see the signs there all the time that say, if you invest for 12 months, we'll give you 1% or 2%. If you invest for 60 months, we'll give you a little bit more because the bank can use your money longer, right? So that's a CD. So when you start the contract, how much you're going to earn. At the end of the period of time, you'll get back the principal, the money you started with, plus you'll get some interest. So using that concept, if you had $500, what I would propose to you is it's better to have 5 $100 CDs than one $500 CD. This is the basic concept. And the reason is if you lock all $500 into one contract that has a start and a finish, you don't have an opportunity for it to come up again, like to mature. So you can maybe get a better rate. So for diversification purposes, using time rather than places, it's better to have a CD that you start today, another one maybe that you start in a month, another one that you start the next month and the next month, and so on. So they all have different maturities at the other end. And it's the same idea with anything that's interest related. So that's going to be your bonds, treasury notes, treasury bills, commercial paper, anything that has an interest related to it. So that's the concept. So we're not going to talk about investing in a CD or a bond today. What we're going to talk about is the idea of the timing at the other end. When do we need that money to mature? So let's lay that template over your life. If you say, I have a question, I have $100 left over at my paycheck with my paycheck, what should I do with it? The first thing I'm going to say is we need to know when you need it and what is it for? And so there's a very simple, specific structure to help you answer that question at your house. It's different for every person, for every family, for every couple. And it's going to change for you in the next months, in the next years, and in the next decades. It's not always the same answer. So it's a question you want to keep asking. What do I need the money for? When do I need it? And that's that, as time marches toward us, that changes it. So let me give you an example. If we're going to take laddering, break it down, it's really about using the dollars that you have for now, for soon, and for later. So what do I need right now? What do I need sometime pretty soon? And what do I need later? And later could be way later, like retirement funds, right? Or end of life funds or legacy funds. And now might be like, I need it today. Like I need to go get groceries today. I need to fill my gas tank today. And soon could be somewhere in the middle. Well, I know I'm going to need to replace my car or repair my car in the next couple of years. So I want to be prepared and not be surprised by that. I want to have the money already allocated to take care of that and not have to use a credit card or borrow from another category of my expenses, like groceries or fun or going to the show or whatever. And that's where people can really make a difference in how they feel about their cash flow, the peace that they get, that it's like a peace of mind. It's like a freedom that you get when you need to have money for an expense or for a goal that you've been saving for, and it's already there. And it's like, not like, shoot, we planned to do it. The trip is here and I don't have the money for the flight. You've planned for it and it's there. So we're going to allocate the cash as it comes through. We're going to allocate cash flow. This is how we answer the question, what do I do with my dollars? Isn't that simple?
Too simple and too good to be true, right? The reality is also you would think it's common sense, but unfortunately, it's stuff that you really don't think about. And when you break it down, and that's the beauty of the show, and I think that's what a lot of our audience appreciates with you is how you break things down to. I always used to say, "Talk to me like I'm a third grader," so I understand this, right? So I get it, and it's not that you're talking to us like a third grader, but you're really putting it in real perspective, real life situations where it's like, oh, okay, I can do this, right?
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah. So let's go back to our example. I have an extra $100 this month. I paid all my bills. I put money aside for groceries and to fill my gas tank. All my needs are met. Housing is covered. My cell phone bill is done. And I have this $100. Where do I put it? So the way you answer the question and get the right answer at your house every time is to go through this grid, this now, soon, later laddering process. And so you look at the beginning, the now money, and you say, okay, in the next year or so, maybe 2 years at the most, but in the next year, what am I going to need cash for? Now, anything in the now category should not be invested. And we'll talk next session, next week, about, what do I invest in, right? So the now part, we're not investing it, we're saving it. And that should be in savings, right? In your checking account, in your credit union, in your bank, in your savings account. It's cash that you can get your hands on today if you need it. And I wouldn't put it under your mattress or in your underwear drawer, right? Actually, you want to use, some people are still afraid of using institutions, but I still think they're safe and recommended, right? As safe as anything out there. So take that money, the portion of it that you need for now or that you're allocating for now, and go ahead and save it. And so that savings, once you have enough cash reserves and you have enough money for the goals that you have that are short term, like right now, then you can start putting the money down. What I would say is below the line, right? For soon, for goals down the road, maybe 2 or 3 years from now, 4 or 5 years from now, or even long term. So those would be invested dollars, but we're talking about savings dollars, money you need to build up your cash reserves. And cash reserves should probably be around 3 or 4 months of your basic expenses. And I mean fixed expenses, things you can't live without, not like I need money to go to the movies and entertain myself. I mean, just to get by, you should know your numbers, right? What do I need every month just to get by? And it's interesting how in tune with that number people are now, more so than they were a couple of years ago, because people had time to kind of think about what am I doing? What am I earning? How am I spending? Is my lifestyle really meeting my needs? You know, do I have quality of life? And it's really interesting to talk to people this last year or so that have changed that. There's been a big transition in how that goes. And people do know their numbers. So I know what I need to survive. Beyond that, I know what I actually earn, right? And there should be a margin. The margin is the flexible expenses or the discretionary expenses, the fun stuff that makes life great. So you have maybe 3 or 4 times what you actually need to survive. When you have that much in your savings account or in your bank, then you can start putting money down below the line. But you've got to have that for several reasons. One is peace of mind. If I need something, I can get it. I don't have to use my credit card and pay interest for, if I get a flat tire or the baseball goes through the windshield or whatever. Right? So I can take care of those little things without having to spend more money just to do that. Garbage disposal goes out, right?
Yeah.
Your kids need a new pair of cleats. They're growing, having a growing spurt right now. So those kinds of things, you want to have that money, but then you want to replace it again. Once you deplete that cash reserves, you want to replace it again. So that's the now money. And that could be, anything that's coming up like right now. There's a dance recital that my daughter's going to be in a couple of months. I know we're going to need to get the outfit for that and the new shoes for that and costumes and all those things. So you always know there's something coming up. For people that are teachers, for example, if they don't have an annual income set up where it's all like annuitized, they might need to save for the summer when they have 2 or 3 months of no paycheck. And they know that's coming up. It's short term. It should be cash, not necessarily some long-term investment or stock or something, right? It's too volatile for short term. So that is your now money. The second part is your soon money. And soon is going to be the category of goals or expenses that are coming up, but they're not right away. They're not imminent. So maybe 3 years from now, 4 years from now, we're going to need money for tuition. We're going to need money to replace that vehicle. We're going to need money for a special trip coming up, a celebration of a special birthday or anniversary or graduation. One of the kids are graduating, grandkids graduating, a wedding coming up. So when you have an expense like that, you're going to want money for it. And maybe you don't even know how much, but you're going to need a sum of money. So why not have it ready? So when that event shows up, when the goal is time to be achieved, you've got the cash ready. This is the planning part. And so you just back up from that and you say, okay, if it's 3 years from now, that's 36 months. I want to have $5,000. You just divide it. What do I need to do every month to make sure over 36 months I have enough money ready? It's not rocket science. It just takes a little intention and a little planning. And I had a client recently, a younger guy, not married yet, but getting ready to be. And he said, I always wanted to learn to fly. So he took his ground school and he did that from his cash flow. And so he was saving up. And he knew he had a 2-year goal to start the flight part of his school, which, is quite a bit of money. And you've got to, pay for the gas and pay for your instructor. And there's a series and you don't want to do it over too much time. Right. So he needed to have a chunk of money to go do that. And he just now was able to achieve that goal. All the money is set aside and he's ready to go become a pilot, like a private pilot. So very exciting for him. I had another couple thinking of the long-term or the short-term goals, the soon money, that said, our parents, it was the husband's parents. He never was able to do a honeymoon, when our folks got married way back. They've been married about 30 years now. They never did a honeymoon. They've never been to Hawaii. And we went to take them for their anniversary to Hawaii. And
Wow.
so they saved up for years and finally were able to buy the trips for this couple to take his parents. So the four of them are doing what I call a honeyversary, and they're going to Hawaii. And it was just so neat that they were able to plan for that. They're not putting anything on credit cards. It's all been saved for, planned out, and ready to go. But what a cool short-term goal. And to not have the stress when you come home of, oh, now we have a bill. And we've all had that feeling. It's like, well, it kind of takes the wind out of our sails. It was
Mhm.
great to achieve the goal, but shoot, now there's a bill. So that's a good example of how a couple of clients recently have used their short-term goal and how rewarding to be able to do that on a cash basis.
And the key to this is exactly what you said. It's that peace of mind, right? If you prepare and then you look ahead, it's priceless, right? You can't. There's nothing that's better than peace of mind. When it comes right down to it. You know.
Well, I'll tell you, it's really good for harmony in a marriage too. So, in a young adult or in a young couple, that stars are in their eyes and everything's going to be great. And then you start to get that feeling, like we did it, but now there's a little regret. Maybe we shouldn't have celebrated. Maybe we shouldn't have had so much fun because now we have debt. And in a mature couple, I call them veteran marrieds, people that have been married a while, it's really easy to achieve a goal. And now you have debt, credit cards building up, things like that. It's easy to do the shame blame thing and start pointing fingers. Well, you spent too much. Well, we shouldn't have done that. We shouldn't have had that vacation. We shouldn't have celebrated our birthday like that. We shouldn't have done that for the kids. And then you have the other spouse going, are you kidding me? And then you get that conflict and that like tension in a marriage. And so what the most beautiful thing that I've seen over decades of doing this front row, front and center with couples is when they plan and they see that there's a better way. It's still the same dollars. Like they're not earning more money. They're just allocating where the cash goes. It's like on purpose instead of by accident. And when that happens, it's that peace of mind that you mentioned, that peace that shows up, but it also takes away any tension or any blame or any regret. And that's healthy for a marriage. If you could get to that point, I wish that for everyone. Some people will get there. Some people will be on the journey to get there. Some will never do it. But this is for people that really want to have a structure, have a tried and true map for how to allocate their cash and actually get there. So all of the future expenses that you have at some point will be paid for from your money, not from borrowed money. And it's a wonderful thing for marriages to be able to do that. So that wraps up the now money and the soon money, the this year money and the 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 year money. The next thing we want to talk about is long term. So any questions so far?
No, so far you've hit everything on the nose. I think the only thing that I wanted to also mention is, when you look back at all this planning too, a lot of folks think about, you talked about marriage and harmony too, right? So we
Mhm.
have kids, and you want to do things for your kids, and a lot of our audience, has grown up with, parents really weren't that financially savvy. They did what they could, right, with what they had. And I think it's also that mindset, you don't want your kids to kind of go through that as well, to that what you went through. And I think that also escalates and creates some of these uh these good conversations, right, within families, because you don't want to overspend, and you don't want your kid to kind of go through everything that you went through as well too. So it's always that fine line to always remember, it's that was the past. Now you have an opportunity to make life a lot better, create that peace of mind, create that harmony, around money, and it's not such a bad thing.
Yeah, and one of the best gifts that you can give your children if you're raising some, or grandkids if they're in your lives, is to model for them. And don't be afraid to share with them mistakes that you've made. If you spent your retirement too soon, or if you didn't save as much as you'd like to, or if you just made money mistakes, you invested poorly, and had to kind of reboot or rebuild from that. If you over leveraged in 2008, you had too many properties that were with too much debt on them, and then that cost you. The things that we've done in our experiences, I think it's really important to share with young people what worked really well and
Mhm.
what didn't. The other gift that you can give young people in your life, whether they're your children or people that you're mentoring, if you're a coach, if you're a teacher, is to give them good information. And that really is the core of why I created this whole venue, right? This Money, Truth, and Life is so people that I will never see, I'll never talk to, I'll never touch, they'll never come to one of my events, that they're not going to hire me, they live far away, whatever. They have access to information and tools and resources that can help them. Like laddering, once you understand the whole concept of laddering, and we have a little bit more to unfold, it is just a template. You can actually draw 3 circles on a paper, go through this conversation with yourself, with your spouse, anybody that's helping you make money decisions, and lay out exactly where those dollars should go at your house so you can get it right. And that's what Money, Truth, and Life is all about.
So I know we're I don't want to skip the third part that you're going to talk about really quickly, but folks, if you're just joining us for the first time, welcome. If you're not following Judy, please do so at judycopenbarger.com. And I'm going to keep going with this because I don't want to lose the momentum that we're talking about.
Absolutely. So long term is next. So once you have your cash reserves in place, we talked about how much that should be at your house. Might not be the number of your neighbor or your colleague at work, right? It's your number. Then you've got your short-term goals, and that's going to be different. So imagine if the goals are 3, 4, 5 years from now, in 5 years, you have all new short-term goals. Maybe you don't need a new car in the next few years, but that next snapshot, you will, right? Or there's an anniversary trip in that period of time. So that's a moving, breathing document. And that short term is always going to change. Long term might not change as much. It depends on your goals. So long term are those goals that are 6 or 7 years or longer. And they might be 25 years from now. I'm going to be working for a while, right? I'm not going to retire for a while. So I don't need to replace my income with income that my money makes for me for a while. But that might be at some point a short term goal. If you think about it, right? So if you're 35, it's going to look different. It's going to be in a different circle when we're talking about retirement money than it is if you're 65, right? Because you might be turning on that income pretty soon. So that's the value of having this laddering, because you're taking time frames and that sets the goals. So the long-term circle, the long-term box, however you draw it, I usually draw it with circles, is going to be anything 6 or 7 years or longer, way out there. So it might be a celebration down the road. It might be your dream of later having a second home, villa at the beach, cabin in the woods, right? Or a place in the cul-de-sac right down the street from where your grandkids live, right? So a long-term goal is like we're going to want to do something really special. We don't know exactly how much we need or where it's going to be, but we're going to be ready. That's the intentional planning blessing of this whole thing. When you're ready to do that thing that really is your heart's desire, you can do it. To join the country club in our 50s or 60s, to be able to maybe go flying then or get another degree then. And I am not shy about people going back to school in their 50s or 60s. I just did it. I got a graduate degree at 58, right? Not afraid to achieve goals and have people really reach for their dreams. It's never too late for things like that. And if you want to go skydiving, never have, why not learn that, right? Whatever it is, you can do it. And so even if you're not sure what it is you're going to want to do or where it is you're going to want to go, chances are you've got this heart's desire that's going to show up again at the other end of your working years. Financially prepared for whatever that is. And if you're married, you might have 2 dreams there, right? So that's long term. So it could be very specific, like I want to keep my income where it is even when I'm not working. Or it could be a little bit less specific where we're going to want to do something. We're not sure what, but it's going to be awesome and we're going to be ready for it with our cash. So that's your long-term goal. And some people are like, they nail it down. They know exactly the 3 or 4 things they're going to want to do. Other people are like, well, I'm going to have a pile of money. I'll be ready, but I don't know exactly what that looks like because I've got a lot of years to go, right? So wherever you are, it's okay. But you want to be financially ready. And the way you do that is by investing now. And again, we'll talk next session about what investments are appropriate for short and long-term goals, because those are the two buckets or the two circles that need to be funded with money that's actually earning more money, right? Investments, not just savings. And that's key. So I run across people that have all of their money above the line. They save, save, save. It's all cash. It's not invested. And that's a risk. Or they have all their money below the line. It's all invested and it's tied up. So when it's time for a goal or they need cash reserves, it costs them. And so you want to have those circles be exactly the way they need to be for what you're planning for. And that's where the planning comes in. That's where the goal setting comes in. And we've got all kinds of information on the Money, Truth, and Life program about how to set proper goals. There's four parts to it. So if you're not sure how to set a proper goal, make sure you look that up or watch one of the YouTubes on it. It's powerful. Again, it's so simple, not easy, but simple. And when you know the concepts, it's just amazing how it just becomes what you do, right? And you never have a problem creating a goal. And with laddering, you never have a problem achieving a goal financially. Makes sense?
Absolutely. And speaking of sense, it's that time of the show. It's a jam-packed show, so I can't wait to hear what your challenge you have for everyone.
All right, here's your challenge. It's going to be very simple, using the concept of laddering, using this template of maturity times. I want you to write down pen and paper a couple of goals that you have that are right now, right? This is going to be the now. What do I need to have right now? Is my cash reserves inadequate and I need to build that up and just save it? Is there something coming up in this next 6 months or year period of time that I need money for? Write down what those 1 or 2 things are. The second thing is short term, 3 to 5 years from today's date, right? The very end of 2022. So by the end of 2025, what am I going to need money for? What's coming up in my horizon that I want to be financially prepared for? And there might be 2 or 3 things to write down. There might be none. There might be one. There might be a whole list. And that takes a little planning and management to allocate and prioritize those. And then long term, what is it that I want to have in that long-term bucket funded and ready? So anything 6 years or longer, 10 years from now, 20 years from now, 30 years from now, right? If you have the time, what do I need to have set aside there? Just write them down. That's your first step to getting the laddering process going. So you can start to answer the question, where do I put my dollar? And know exactly what to do when there's an extra $100 in your paycheck. That'll answer your question, and that's your challenge.
All right, folks, you've heard the challenge. Please make sure you share your thoughts also. And if you have any additional questions for the show, any other topics that you'd like to hear Judy cover as well, please make sure you reach out to us. Remember, we're here every Tuesday morning at 8 a.m., replays on Thursdays at 8 p.m. So with that said, any last parting words, Judy?
Yeah. Take some intention this week and do something really nice for somebody. Surprise them. There's your challenge.
All right. On that note, I will see you next Tuesday. Have a fantastic week.
Blessings.